Welcome back to another episode of BS for EMD, and today we are excited to have an international guest with us. So I was scrolling through my our social media feed on Instagram and came across a post that Dr. Peter McCullough shared. As you know, he's been on our show numerous times, and in following him, I saw that he was going to be a guest speaker up in our home and native land of Canada on a conference that is titled Think Canada. And so lo and behold, I happened to get in touch with one of the organizers of the event, who's our guest today, Rebecca Mello. She's a law student who is actually taking part in organizing this. This will be their second year of the conference. And so without me wrecking any of the information, we'll bring her on now to share what it's about. And for those of our friends in Canada and people that want to travel, this would be great. So welcome to the show, Rebecca. It's so nice to have you and meet you.
Thanks so much for having me. This is great. I'm glad it worked out now.
Yeah, a little
Absolutely.
technical glitching, but that's just no big deal. So why don't you tell Tim and I a little bit about just how much of your background you want to share and how you got involved or in Think Canada and what it's about.
Sure. So I was born and raised in Canada, like Toronto, Ontario. I did my university outside. I went to Spain, and that's where I studied business and law. And then when I came back, obviously over the years, like I was in university during COVID, I got more interested in law. It was never my, I guess, intention to become a lawyer. I had never like this childhood dream about it. But after COVID and all stuff that happened, it just became more interesting to me. I was more involved in it also. Arrived to Canada, and we just wanted to bring people together. Like I think there's a lot of people that are like-minded, and there's a lot going on in the US, but there's a lot of people in Canada that are also noticing what's happening, and there aren't as many resources. There aren't as many events like bringing people together. I think many times people think, the population is very small, everybody's scattered around in the middle of nowhere. And they're desiring the same thing. Many people travel to the US for conferences or events that they find interesting, but it just seems like nothing's really happening in Canada. So last year was the first conference that we did. The initial name, I guess, was Freedom Under Fire. So just talking about the importance of freedom, freedom of conscience, freedom of speech, being able to express what you're thinking about, and just creating a space for people that share this idea or that value this to come together and meet each other. Because virtual groups, I think, is really good and helpful, but we just wanted to do something where people are meeting in real life. So we started that last year. It's not just myself. There's a team of people behind this working together just to bring people in Canada. And so mostly we had people from Ontario at the conference last year. And our speakers, we had one lawyer from Canada, and then we had two speakers from the US come over and just talk about history, the importance of what's happening right now. And we had people from all over Canada attend, and also some Americans, actually, fun fact. So then this year, the focus last year was Freedom Under Fire. This time it's Health Under Fire. So that's the title of the conference, and just exploring health, what that means, all parts of health, which includes obviously physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. These are all aspects of our being that need to be talked about and taken care of. And so that's what our focus is this year. The conference is happening in November in near Toronto also. And we're very excited to have Dr. Peter McCullough come and join us. I haven't met him personally, so it'll be very exciting for me. And so he's, of course, going to be sharing from his area of expertise when it comes to physical health. And then we're going to have a Q&A panel with some other speakers. And the other main speaker is Dr. Conrad Vine. He came last year to the Freedom Under Fire. And so he's also talking about just like the spiritual battle arising with COVID and limitations of freedom, what happens, when our freedom to express is shut down, and how that can affect different aspects outside of your physical health. So he also speaks a lot about history and just the importance of looking back at history and seeing how it's being repeated right now. So that's kind of a little bit about me and how I'm involved in this, and just kind of what that conference is about. And yeah, just keeping these conversations going about the freedom of conscience and expression, which, as I'm sure you're well aware, is under attack in Canada in many ways.
So speaking of that, you have hate speech laws in Canada, and they just passed that. I forget the title of the bill, where they can go after your Instagram, Facebook, like any social media post, and you can be charged with hate speech. So are you getting pushback? Do you get pushback? Um, because I mean, at least in the United States, it's still crazy, but at least freedom of speech is ensconced in the Constitution. It isn't in Canada. Like there really isn't government protected free speech in Canada.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
how does that work? Like I would think that's kind of a conflict waiting to happen.
Yes, like with respect to the conference that's happening now, we haven't gotten pushback yet. I mean, that always comes, and that's kind of part of it. That's part of the process of just trying to bring people together. But yes, like you mentioned, it's Bill C9 that was passed very recently. And yeah, like the government can come after what you've posted online on the internet. And if they deem it to be basically promoting hatred, like you can go to jail for a long time. So I mean, it's only a matter of time until we see like them like coming for what you've posted. So far yet, I mean, we haven't experienced any of that, at least me personally. And so as much as I can to still do something to talk about this, I will do it until obviously I'm like in chains. But right now, that's not happening by the grace of God. So we'll see how it plays out. But we did get some backlash last year when we organized that conference, and I think at the end of the day, it's just a battle between good and evil. Like there's always going to be some kind of pushback. But if there's something that we can do while we still can, I think whatever we can do to bring people together to meet offline in real time, so they can have that community and know who to connect with. That's just what we're trying to do.
No, I love that though, because all these battles are ultimately spiritual battles. The first time we had Peter on, at the very end of the discussion, he's like, I think there's something out there that's bigger than any of, the Fauci and the government and whatever. And we kind of alluded to it. And we've talked a lot about that on the show over numerous episodes. And I think it's really important for people to understand that, what we're actually fighting. This isn't just a political battle. There's a political element to it. Clearly,
Mm-hmm.
there's a scientific element to it. Clearly, there's body autonomy. There's all of these things. But ultimately, we're not fighting against flesh and blood when it comes down to this stuff. I mean, I am absolutely 100% sure of that. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it makes me sad that the country of my birth, you're saying I'm going to fight till they shut me up, because they very well might. I mean, literally passages in the Bible, according to what the Canadian government thinks, would be promoting hate speech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
yeah, and like you said, I think a lot of people realize that something is up, but they can't exactly pinpoint what it is. And like you said, it is spiritual. It's bigger than us. It's bigger than the prime minister. It's bigger than COVID. It's bigger than the vaccines. It's just bigger than that. But the good thing is we can align to the that wins, right? But in the meantime, it's just important to help people identify what the bigger problem is. And like you said, it is spiritual, but it's only by having conversations where we can actually help provide some clarity to people that are waking up and realizing that something is really off and something's really happening, and where can we look to for hope. It is just what we want to direct them to.
I think I mean, in a way, it's kind of ironic, and I'm putting it, we've talked about this a lot on our show, but I'm putting it out there too for all of our listeners that are like in the US. We have a bunch of family, friends in Canada that follow us, but they don't quite understand how, I mean, how a country that has like the population of California spread out all of this massive land mass can be so, like you said, like in tune to some of this stuff. And when I go back home, and I was, back in Canada just this January, which was horrible, by the way, coming up there in the winter. But my dad passed, and I came back, and I notice it every time I go back. But it really hits me how the media, I mean, media is very focused, and the information that Canadians get is so polluted down from the US side of things. I mean, I can pretty much, CNN is the main channel that gets streamlined. And so you're getting very biased information. CBC News, CTV, I mean,
it's government. The government owns the.
So what people are hearing, even just aside from the health stuff, but what's happening in the US is very one-sided. And so I go home and I get so mad because I'm like, well, there's another side to this and you guys aren't seeing it. And then in the health side of things, we've dealt with our discussions with our family, friends throughout the whole COVID pandemic. And what they hear and what they see is fed to them through, the media in Canada. It's just so narrow that it's hard to explain to people down here how you couldn't sort of be having this big, what am I looking for here? Like not just freedom, but the ability to pick and choose your information. And now it doesn't mean like there's internet in Canada and people have the ability to like read things posted elsewhere, but somehow there's more of it seems like a limitation in mindset or focus. I'm trying to figure out the best way to say that.
Well, I'll say it. Canadians are way too nice and they apologize way too often. I mean, I have had these conversations, and the bottom line even members in my family, well, the government would never do that. The government would never take our freedoms. The government would never not try to take care of us. The government would never do what isn't best for us. I'm like, every single freaking government given enough power in the history of mankind has taken control over their population. That is the de facto foundation of government, of every single regime in the history of mankind. Read a frickin' history book. It's not hard to figure out. And so, and so then you have expansion of MAID. You have long waiting lists for, standard medical care that I could get literally in a week here. And people are like, well, it's our duty to stand in line, because at least we're not Americans. And I'm like, they're going to feed you to the frickin' lions. Figure it out. Wake up.
Yeah. But like you said initially, also at the beginning of the call, was there is a big difference when it comes to the rights that are protected in Canada as opposed to the Constitution in the US. And I did like my bachelor's thesis with a focus on religious freedom and how the difference between whatever our Constitution equivalent, because like you said, that doesn't really exist here.
Right.
Whatever is equivalent, which is our rights that are protected supposedly, but then they can be breached if it's justified. So that changes everything when it comes to what I believe are my innate rights that are guaranteed and that can never be compromised. Because like you said earlier, in the foundation of what is written down for Canadians' rights and freedoms, it's just completely different. And so that affects Canadians in a very different way, because at the end of the day, they're not really protected because the government can just like deem it justified to overreach. So the way that things run in Canada is just always going to be different because these rights are just not understood in the same way as in the US. But at the end of the day, like we've established, I mean, it is spiritual. And like you said, it's happened since the beginning of time, and it'll continue. Like all of this will happen until the end of time. Like this is just the way that things work.
Right. No, I'm really glad that you made the distinctive difference in governing bodies, because even the conversations that I have with people, and it's been fascinating because, we'll be at a wedding and somehow people talk about, oh, you're from Canada, isn't it way better? Healthcare up there, everybody has healthcare, it's universal health. And so then
everyone gets to wait in line until they die.
The discussion begins because they're expecting American style healthcare with the Canadian socialized system, and then I explain what it's like and kind of go into detail about when the government, you have a single payer, which is the government that controls the purse strings and what they do actually pay for and what they don't pay for.
They're like drugs. When you tell Americans they don't cover drugs, Medicare does not cover drugs in Canada. Their head explodes. Really? I thought everything was free. No, it's not free because it's never free.
Right. But even so, there's that part of the discussion. Then there's just, you're right, the governing side of things as well, freedom of, what we're talking about, speech and the constitutional rights that we have down here. It's a whole, it is a different country with a different governing system. And it's hard for people because they just expect down here, oh, it's, the 51st state in North America, similar, and it's very different. I'm curious with this conference, how deep are you going to go? Do you have any other guest speakers, or how deep are you guys going to get into things like MAID, any of the controversial topics?
Good question. So as of now, like the only speakers that we have, is just Peter McCullough and Conrad Vine, which I mentioned earlier. I'm sure people will bring up topics like that in the Q&A, but what we've asked Peter to specifically highlight is, as he's, one of the few doctors that has the protocol to deal with the spike protein, like that's kind of what he's going to focus on. Because like I said, I know many people that have gotten very sick recently or passed away. I'm sure you do too. Like we've been hearing about this nonstop, and people realize that something's up. And so since Peter's like written his new book, like he's going to be bringing that also for our attendees, but his area of focus when it comes to our conference is just going to be like overcoming long COVID, spike protein protocol, how to get rid of spike proteins, what are the side effects that we're seeing. So that's like going to be the main focus that he's going to talk about. And again, he's focusing on physical health, of course. And then Conrad Vine is going to be talking about history and how that ties into spiritual health. But, questions always arise, and I'm sure that's why we want to open up the Q&A time, because then we can hear different inputs and different questions about what concerns people right now.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm really curious because you're obviously younger than us, and you grew up in Canada and you traveled the world. You studied abroad and so forth. So why are you like this? Because a lot of your generation is not. Or am I reading this incorrectly? Like, I don't know when you were born, but like our kids.
I would argue. So here, this
our
shows
kids
BS free, because I would argue with him. I'm saying no, I totally disagree.
Well, maybe I don't know. It depends. Like I don't know if you're millennial Generation Z. The Gen Z kids seem to be much more conservative now than the millennials. The millennials are kind of. I feel bad for them because at least Gen X like us, we actually had to drink out of water hose and fend for ourselves because we're the first generation of two parents working. And then, the poor millennials are the ones that grew up with everyone gets a trophy. And then you get to work and you realize, no, everyone doesn't get a trophy. And then Gen Z looked at all of that and they're like, this is all crazy. So I'm just so curious about your background and kind of what made you this kind of warrior.
Well, to answer your question, I'm 26. So I don't know what generation that makes me. Because I think there's like debates about like where I fit in. I think. I don't know. But anyways, so yes, it's definitely difficult to find people my age that think like this also, but there's a lot of them. And the problem is we don't know where to find each other. But to answer your question, I guess, like with respect to my upbringing, like my entire family thinks like this. My entire family has been very involved. That's just how I grew up. We all work together to make this happen. Like we're all working with these conferences. It's not just me. It's my entire family that just believes in this. And yeah, it's just the structure that I've grown up with. So obviously at some point, it becomes a decision I make, like how am I going to live my life? But this was a structure I grew up with, and I've just learned, about the importance of sharing what I believe and just helping people to navigate the world. And so faith has been a very important part of my upbringing. And I think that is a propelling factor because I'm just trying to share with people the hope that I have. And obviously this is something that my family is all on the same page about. So yeah, I hope
I
Yeah,
that.
love that.
this is wild. Like, so you're the same age as our son.
Yeah.
And he's handsome, by the way. This is so wildly encouraging to us. And the first time I really experienced it in your demographic was when our son is a military officer. When he graduated from college, and we met his friends, the people
Mhm.
that basically spoke into his life as colleagues. And it was amazing because one of his best friends said, I wanted to get to know his parents because I wanted to know where he came from. So it's kind of the same story. And
Mhm.
it's very, very encouraging to hear this. Old people like us, it's like, oh, the younger generation, they don't know whatever. Well, you know what? They've been saying that somebody dug up some writing from like 3 or 4 thousand years ago about the older generation bitching about the younger generations. And it's like, so
Mhm.
this is just standard operating procedure. So guess what, kids? We're actually in good hands because there are people like Rebecca that are going to take the torch from our hands and advance it. So,
Mhm.
some old codgers like us can actually chill out a little bit once in a while.
Pass it on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I mean, old people like you, as you said, it was not mine. But yeah, I mean, and obviously like you see it in your son and other people see it like, and I think that is just hopeful that there's people like you that actually like put in a real effort in like raising the next generation, like my parents. Um, and yeah, I mean, it is hopeful, and yeah, we all need each other. Like if it wasn't for even now, like as we're growing up, like we need mentors and we need people to share their experience with us. So it's just something that needs to continue happening. And I think bringing together different generations is also very key.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the name of your website, which is Think Canada, because to that point, it's all about, when we raise our kids, teaching our kids to grow up to be great adults and to think. And, you know, for the message for Canadians is think, don't listen to just what you're being fed, whether it's through the media channel that you get or the whatever propaganda or whatever the government or whoever your boss is telling you. I mean, you use your whatever education you have, think critically about all of these things. And I'm super excited that this is the second year and you're focusing on health this year. Um, Man, my brain's already exploding with ideas for your conference too, or more to come, because there's so many people that I'm thinking that would you'd love to have up there that you could share some information. And I'm sure you are too. So um,
Well,
let us know.
yeah.
Um, I'm excited. I'm thinking maybe another road trip. We're going up there in September. Maybe we'll have to go back in November to take part.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, are you kidding? Then
yeah,
we can meet in
maybe.
real life.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's
It's
right.
always been really fun in meeting in real life, finally, people that we've uh, done it. We've actually made some really good friends just from podcasting. It's been really a fascinating thing. But it's interesting. I would love to address sometime the the single greatest problem. Like there's a great meme, and it kind of cuts to the chase as far as the problems in Western medicine, not just in individual countries. And so a guy goes to this doctor. He goes, I have a cut on my hand. I need stitches. And in Britain, in the UK, they said, okay, come back in 3.5 months. In the United States, it's like, okay, well, that'll be $50,000. And in Canada, it's like, well, we can kill you. So,
Yeah, I saw that.
and you sit there and you go, okay, well, why is that funny? Well, it's funny because it's partially true, but it's
Mhm.
also funny because somehow what we have done, and if there's anything I could possibly communicate in the health sphere after being an attending physician for over 32 years, it's that
Mhm.
somehow through the systems, whether it's a socialized system like in the UK and Canada, whether it's our fascistic system run by giant corporations in the United States, somehow we have taken the single most precious thing we own our health, our bodies, and we've let somebody else manage them. Health is not, it's like the reason there's a healthcare system is because we've offloaded the responsibility of our personal health to somebody else. That is completely crazy. But it is the foundational nonsense from which all of this comes. You know, I go work in an urgent care and I see, I don't know how many patients a day that are freaking out because they had one bout of diarrhea and it must be this, you know, cyclosporidia that, you know, there's only been what, 7,000 or 8,000 cases in totality.
Mustn't have crossed the Canadian border yet.
You know, and it's just like,
No,
you're
not
sitting
yet.
there. I'm like, why do you believe these people? Why are you outsourcing your health? Why do you believe these people that absolutely bald-faced lied to you for the last 5 years? But now this isn't a lie? No, it's all manipulation. The symbol for public health should be a gas lamp. That's what it should be. It shouldn't be any kind of, you know, what is it called? A caduceus or whatever it is that we use in medicine. It should be a gas lamp because it's just gaslighting.
True.
Yeah. And also people that are sick and unhealthy are always easier to control.
Yes.
And like your grandparents, they knew what to do. And that's been lost like throughout generations. Like you get to me, like and like you said, we go to the ER like for a cold or for a fever because we don't know, because that knowledge hasn't been passed down. But just a few generations ago, like people knew how to actually take care of their health and do stuff at home.
I know. It boggles my mind because I think I take it for granted being on both sides of the thing, having been raised that way with a grandmother that used to put literal mustard plasters on my chest and like give me second degree burns on my skin for this stuff for pneumonias and all kinds of things. And some of them were foofy, and yeah, a lot of the stuff really worked. And then having my medical training. And so people, you're right, not just your generation, our generation. And then COVID just destroyed everything because now we have people in their 80s freaking out when they get the sniffles for a day and they want to be better so that they could like play pickleball.
No, but it's true. I see a guy that's 78 years old and he's got a cold. I'm like, you don't know what a cold is. And I'm like, well, the reason he doesn't know what a cold is because they weaponized colds during COVID. Yeah. They weaponized a freaking cold.
And that's
so. Yeah, but they come in and he's like, I've never been this sick in my life. And I'm like, you need to go straight home, get on your knees and thank the Lord Jesus that this is the sickest you've ever been in 78 years. Are you kidding me? Like, how is that possible? Dude, you got the sniffles. Like, you're going to be fine in 10 days.
Yeah. It's sad ultimately. Like, it's just really sad.
Yeah.
But there's something that we can do, right? Like, and it starts with information and conversations. Right. I think that's just the importance of what you guys are doing, what we're doing, what everybody's doing in their individual sphere. It's just, what can we do to help the people in our little circle?
Right.
Well, I think that's critically important because I think that there's something that's really, really people know about, but they don't really vocalize it, which is permission giving. So when people that are kind of on the fence or might, you know, agree with what you're saying 80%, they don't say anything because they assume that they're in the minority. And then when they see like a conference like this and they see young people like you speaking out, they get the permission to then speak out. And it's why movements are not won with 51%. They're won with probably 3 to 5% that gives permission to the other 47%. And that's really critical. So this idea that, well, we're only doing this once a year, or we've only talked to, 2,000 people over the last, all of it matters. Every single little inch by inch matters as long as we keep pushing.
Yeah, I fully agree.
Okay, so I'm going to let you share with everybody the dates for the conference, the location, and we'll put up the correct social media links that we have them now for Facebook, Instagram, and the website. Tell everybody where to find out more information.
Yes, so because of the space, like there's limited seating, so people need to register. It's happening November 13 and 14, which is a Friday and Saturday, in Scarborough, Ontario. You can register through the website thinkcanada.net. And it's the same for Instagram and Facebook. There's just information, but the registration has to be through the website. And the first 100 people that register get a copy of Peter McCullough's latest bestseller.
Wonderful. And I'm sure they could probably meet him in person, get a photo with him, and get him to personally sign it with no problem. Right?
Yeah, and you can ask him a question at the Q&A.
Exactly. And then I will share the links on our pages as well for you. Put them in our social media and tag you, and we'll put that on there as well. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing what this is all about, and I'm going to tell all our friends and family to buy a plane ticket. What else they got to do in November in Canada, right? It's all indoors. It's going to be football season, and they want to be inside anyway. Bring a parka. Yeah, right.
I know.
So thanks again for being here. I hear you have a second exam coming up soon. Is that right? Or is it in the future yet?
No. So I did both of the bar exams in June. So you've got to take 2 bar exams here, barrister and solicitor.
Yep.
And so actually I just found out on Friday that I passed the barrister one. So that was really a relief. And now I'm just waiting for the solicitor. So probably like another couple weeks. Hopefully I'll hear back from that.
So then is it Rebecca Mello BS because you're a barrister and solicitor? Is that how that works?
No, it's not BS. It's BS free.
It's a BS of BS.
Yes.
No, because in the US they had
your audio just cut out. I don't know what happened. If you
no.
accidentally silenced yourself, hit mute, or what happened?
I didn't. Can you hear me? Hello?
Bizarre.
Okay.
Hello.
Anyway, thanks for being here, Rebecca. And we'll catch up with you in a bit. All right, everybody. So we'll put the links in our social media posts, like I said. And as we always say, keep it real, keep it BS free. And if you have anybody that you know would like to go to this, share this with them. All right, until next time.
Bye.
It's no secret that medicine is a bit uptight. That's why Tim and I created BS Free MD, to mix things up a little and have fun in the process. Besides, we are having these exact same discussions all the time, so we thought we might as well invite everyone to the party. If you really like us, you can get plenty more, and maybe see one of Tim's cool tattoos on our Instagram or Facebook pages at BS Free MD. See you next time.
But we try to keep BS Free MD as raw and real as possible. We can't be held responsible for any medical decisions or discussions had as a result of what you've heard on the show. We know, bummer. But the truth is, we really do care about your questions. So feel free to reach out to us by email at doc@bsfreemd.com.